I don't know what to listen to in the background. But today I would like to stand for maybe 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, just feeling like it. Even so, yesterday I had like some digestion problems, but still, I guess I will do the plan to try to fix it, you know, like in some magical sense, working out, or this is not really a workout, but it might help, who knows. You know, when you sweat, you lose the toxins from the body, which is a plus. So when you squeeze your muscles as in all around the area which contains your organs, it also kind of helps, because there's that contraction, well, it moves stuff around, like moves the lymph, whatever else there is, like a blood pumps, and allows for faster metabolism. So, and just because, you know, like a day with digestion problems, it kind of ruins your form a little bit, which is sad. So in moments when I feel like I need to fix my form, I can quickly do that. You know, people think too much about what do they actually need to do to stay in shape or look perfectly. Like, you don't need to do much. Do you want to lose weight? Go run 10 hours straight. You will lose it in one day. Like, it's like, the only thing that will be stopping you is your mind. And well, the second thing is you have to take into consideration that you're mortal, so don't overdo it. But there are, you know, you are limitless in most ways when you address these things which, like working out or stress, like the stress that you take upon yourself, and decide that you will do it yourself. Like, you know, you're not overworking to die, but you're overworking to not die and keep all the results. And that's why something like running a marathon is a very nice thing. I don't know, I will turn on some videos just for the background noise. You know, I started to dislike YouTube because it's not like I hate that I waste my time.
In the 1960s, the
Just
US
kind of
planned to hit
pointless.
Israel with hundreds of thermonuclear bombs. And
But
Panama
the more you know,
and
well, who
Alaska.
cares?
All in the name of progress, driven by a mad scientist to use the most destructive of weapons to build things, excavate canals, carve out harbors, tap oil and gas. This was Project Plowshare. It kept the US busy for 2 decades, burned hundreds of millions of dollars, and exploded dozens of nukes for a bright future. In the most feverish years of the Cold War, when the world got terrifyingly close to blowing itself up.
So this video will end in 13
Nukes for
minutes.
peace.
I will need to find
Our story
another one.
begins with the brilliant Hungarian physicist Edward Teller, one of the key scientists of the Manhattan Project, the colossal effort that led to the first nuclear bomb. But almost from the beginning, he dreamt of destroying the world much harder. Traditional nukes, like the Hiroshima and Nagasaki ones release energy by splitting heavy atoms like uranium. But these are rare, expensive, and the resulting bombs are difficult to scale up. So, Teller lobbied for a different approach: unleash the nuclear fire by smashing together hydrogen atoms. That would allow for bombs thousands of times more powerful. The problem was technically hard, but in the 1950s, Teller solved it. The terrifying new thermonuclear bomb made Hiroshima and Nagasaki look like firecrackers. Nuclear fire strong enough to end human civilization itself. The Soviet Union followed quickly, and the new madness for destruction took over the world. Teller was having the time of his life as he got to chase his nucleus dreams like a bomb so powerful that it would wipe out civilization in one single strike. A real thing the US actually started working on. We told this story before, if you want to watch it. And as the perfectly sane man he was, Teller had other great ideas, like nuking the moon to show the comets who's boss. And if H-bombs could destroy the planet, maybe they could also reshape it. The logic wasn't entirely unhinged. Humans have been using explosives for mining and engineering for centuries, and H-bombs offered the same service with much more enthusiasm at a decent cost. Why not use them to dig ditches and make holes at a planetary scale? The idea of nukes for peace was also pretty convenient. With public opinion increasingly opposed to the arms race and ever more terrified by World War III, nuclear engineering was a way to keep on testing nuclear weapons without saying you were testing nuclear weapons. So, in 1957, the US launched Project Plowshare, a bold plan to use nuclear explosions for peaceful engineering. And who would be put at the helm? Exactly. Cutting through continents. In 1956, Egypt had just nationalized the Suez Canal, a vital artery for global trade and oil delivery to Europe. So, one of the first ideas of the new build with nukes doctrine was to blast open a new one through the Israeli desert. On the other side of the world, the Panama Canal had long been in need of an upgrade. Scientists explored extension routes and found they would need to remove 1.2 billion cubic meters of earth, 500 Great Pyramids of Giza. A monumental task that would cost $6 billion if done with shovels, but only $3.1 billion with nukes. Trying to blast open a panatomic canal. But even Teller understood that before nuking through continents, you should start small. So the first miracle of Project Plowshare would be a new harbor in Alaska. In just a few glorious milliseconds, 5 nukes with a combined punch of 170 Hiroshima bombs would carve out a 500 by 200 meter trench, opening the region to commerce and prosperity. The local communities were thrilled with the idea, but Teller insisted that the dangers of nuke engineering had been greatly exaggerated. The major concern was radioactive contamination. Canals and harbors were great, but nobody wanted them glowing with radioactivity for thousands of years. Luckily, Teller had a plan: nuking the land from below. In a nutshell, nuclear excavation works like this. You drill a hole a few hundred meters deep and place the bomb at the bottom. When it goes off, the blast hollows out a cavern in the rock and flash melts its walls into magma. The molten rock pools at the bottom, the ceiling collapses, and the collapse ripples upwards until it reaches the floor, where it forms a crater. The result is a massive hole on top, with the radioactive debris sealed under hundreds of thousands of tons of rock. With the theory looking flawless on paper, the time had come to actually test it. But before the government bombs anything, let's get some propaganda protection, just in case. Our partner Ground News is a website and app built to help you think critically about the information you consume, a mission we fully support. They curate news articles from across the globe and in context on political bias, reliability, ownership, and summaries that highlight what each side is leaving out. You can even compare headlines to see how bias shapes the narrative. Take this story about Finland planning to lift its ban on nuclear weapons. Some frame it as a prudent response to the state of the world, while others warn of escalation. Ground News also reveals blind spots, stories that only one side is covering, showing you what your usual news feed is hiding. As information bubbles are becoming the norm, thinking critically about the news is no longer optional, and Ground News makes it easier to do just that. If you'd like to give them a try, go to ground.news/nutshell or scan the QR code on the screen. Using this link gives you 40% off an unlimited access subscription and directly supports our channel. And now, back to Nuking for Peace. The fiasco begins. Shed debuted in 1961
I feel
in the
that
desert of
not
New
symmetry
Mexico.
go.
A nuclear
Feel like my
power
body
3,000
tilts to the
tons of
right,
TNT
but
was
I'm completely straight.
in the heart of a salt deposit.
I promise I am completely straight. Like you see, my head is not in the middle of the frame, but like why exactly is that?
Pumped up to power turbines. A hybrid of fusion and geothermal power brought to you by H-bombs. Above ground, hundreds of
Very
officials,
strange.
scientists, and international
Maybe it
guests
just
had
came out.
gathered to witness the birth of a new era. Everyone held their breath as the countdown ticked, and then, with a distant thud, the ground shuddered. Deep below, the explosion hollowed a cavern the size of over 10 Olympic swimming pools. But Teller's team had missed a tiny detail. The salt contained far
Nice.
more water than expected, which turned into superheated steam that massively amplified the blast. The hole used to lower the bomb had been designed to collapse and seal itself after the explosion, but the unexpectedly monstrous pressure broke through. So, a few minutes after the blast, the plume of radioactive steam erupted from the shaft, damaging cameras and instruments and bathing everyone in a strangely itchy sauna. The US government tried their best to convince everyone that things hadn't been that bad, but for some reason, the masses had a problem with clouds of radioactive fallout, even from peaceful nukes. But that wouldn't discourage Teller. So, to show the world how cool H-bombs can really be, he scheduled another test, one 30 times more peaceful. In July 1962, while Cuban officials were visiting Moscow to negotiate a missile deal that would almost spark World War III 3 months later, a thermonuclear bomb worth 7 Hiroshima nukes exploded 200 meters underground in the Nevada desert. This time, the goal was to test nuclear excavation itself and check how big the crater could get.
I think I will do exactly like 2 times the time I did already, so halfway there. 25 minutes. That will do.
But digging with nukes is tricky. Bury the bomb too deep, and you'll only get a disappointing.
Maybe
depth.
it's that if I feel still
Shallow,
okay.
And you risk launching a radioactive cloud into the sky, which was exactly what happened. Someone
Should have stretched my lower back.
and the plume of radioactivity
There is a very nice exercise for that,
as far as South
which I
Dakota
forgot
and
about.
And panic broke out in Utah when radioactive iodine was found in milk. It turned into one of the dirtiest tests on US soil ever. Just one nuke. The years that followed saw more peaceful explosions and peaceful fallout. Meanwhile, Teller's proposals got weirder. Liquefied tar sands in Canada with nukes. Blast a highway through the Sierra Nevada with nukes. Connect rivers in Mississippi with nukes. But the crown jewel of nuclear dreams was still the Panatomic Canal. A legion of scientists worked on it, and plans got disturbingly far. One of the top contenders was Route 17, an 80-kilometer trench across pristine Panamanian jungle that was short, flat, pretty empty, and perfectly nukeable. 250 bombs with the power of 8,000 Hiroshimas would do the job. 43,000 people across 17,000 square kilometers would still have to be evacuated, just in case. And shockwaves might shatter windows as far as Costa Rica and Colombia. But what were such details in the grand scheme of progress? So let's rewind history and press the button to see what might have happened if Teller had got his way. Ready to push the button? 3, 2, 1. Boom. The first round of nuclear salvos close to both coasts obliterates hundreds of square kilometers of pristine rainforest in seconds, a roaring success. Unfortunately, the cloud of fallout catches the Pacific winds. Weeks later, spikes of radiation are found over the Caribbean, and radioactive iodine, cesium, and strontium start to enter the food chains of both oceans. Tuna and sharks become radioactive. One option would be to stop, but to have a radioactive scar across the jungle, contamination of 2 oceans, and no canal. Better push through. So a second round of blasts goes off in the central Chicanaki River Valley, only to find that the central part of the isthmus had far more clay than expected. As soon as the rainy season hits, landslides clog the new craters like a self-healing wound. The choices: leave a mud-choked glowing blister through the rainforest, or begin a colossal engineering nightmare just to keep the jungle from landsliding onto the canal. Not to mention the ecological apocalypse and the devastating PR victory that 120 megatons of nuclear peace over Latin America would give Cuba and the USSR. Luckily, in our timeline, the US blinked and began to sober up. In 1970, a final report killed the Panatomic Canal, and with it, all nuclear excavation projects. But Taylor wasn't going to let go, so he turned to nuclear fracking. Not because it made sense, but to keep Plowshare alive. Just one more nuke, and I'll build the future bro. But several explosions later, the result was ultra expensive, radioactive gas impossible to sell. In 1977, after 20 years and dozens of nukes across the US, Project Plowshare was finally cancelled without reaching any of its goals. No canal, harbour or tunnel had been built. In hindsight, it's easy to see how unsafe it was. But at a time when World War III felt imminent, when kids were playing with atomic toys as mushroom clouds filled the sky, using nukes to build a better future probably did feel like a great idea. Our new channel Night Shift, we're telling dark and novel stories from history that you might never have heard before, and that might stay with you, like The Greatest Pirate, The Horrible Life of Past Kings, or The Bloody War that led to the number 0. Same quotes gesagt,
Oh,
new style, hand drawn.
my skin looks like texture and the material from with the shaders from the Mortal Kombat 10 video game. You know, in there during the fight, the human characters they were sweating. You can see during cutscenes, as their body is like a lot of drops of sweat. Looks funny. It's like every single pore on your body sweats. Well, the first video ended, so.
Just select the audio track into Liquid down here and watch the video again.
I don't know. The history of World of Warcraft changes, so I don't care. Good enough. Not too uplifting, actually, but I do move a lot, but anyways, like I'm doing some normal timing, so that's decent.
Long before the first adventurer stepped through the dark portal, and years before the world itself was shattered into the drifting fragments of outline, there existed the wild, primordial planet.
Still have a dry spot on my shirt. Not good, not good. We should be 100% wet. If you want to see the progress. Which is what's interesting is that normally my right wrist would hurt. Today it is left wrist. But I did not. Actually, I did hurt it. I did a wheel like that, and landed on my shoulder. Well, not landed, but disjointed a little bit. So that's why. I cannot live without any injuries.
This is how the planet of Draenor looked when the Titan Agrabah discovered it. If the evergrowth wasn't stopped, it would consume every other life form on the planet. Because of his Titan size, Agrabah couldn't intervene directly, so he created a servant on the planet to do his dirty work for him. He brought a mountain to life with an elemental storm, and then he named it Ron was a beast. He tore through the first small mound with ease, sending a shiver of agony through the entire hive, realizing that being rooted in one place made him mortality. The remaining small mounds they drained the life essence from the land and gave themselves the power to stand up and war. Three of these giants rose to fight back against Rock. The one important to our story is Zang. Zang was a walking mountain of swamps and mushroom fields. Everything we see in Zangarmarsh today all relates back to Zang. You'll see what I mean here. Zang was the smallest of the three, and also the first small mountain giant to be slain by Kong. As the years passed, this rotting, massive carcass of this creature collected water and slowly transformed into the Zangar Sea, a massive body of water nestled between Frostfire Ridge and Nightland. Even though Zang was dead, the ever-growth instinct to consume absolutely everything was hard-coded into its DNA, and that instinct was passed on to the life forms that formed out of his remains. Before long, the fungi, or the fungi, whatever you want to say, in the Zangar Sea began a slow-motion invasion, releasing millions of spores into the wind and pushing more and more inland over time. This became known as the Zangar encroachment. Pockets of fungal growth started popping up all over Trent, but the most important one was a place called Zangar that would eventually bleed out and become Zangar Village. The Evergrowth was then finally What's important to note, the timeline has to go forward thousands of years to the arrival of the Draenei and the catastrophic rise of the I'm going to speak about the opening of the Dark Crystal as we've covered the Blood Pacts and Kil'jaeden's schemes in great detail in our Hellfire Peninsula. The unlimited brief version is that the orcs of Draenor were fed the blood of Manor. They returned into a foul-fueled war machine and then spent the next few years systematically wiping the Draenor off the face of Draenor. Eventually, the Horde turned its gaze towards the Draenei's crown jewel, Shattered City. As the city fell, the leader of the Draenei race, the Prophet Velen, ordered a mass evacuation. He led the survivors on a desperate journey towards the Zangar Sea, heading for a secluded monastery built on a small, lonely island in the middle of the water. Once they arrived, Velen ordered his artificers to install a massive network of arcanite crystals. They would be used to project a cloaking field around the monastery, effectively hiding it from the naked eye. While the rest of their race was being hunted to extinction by the orcs, the refugees at Tel'Rethon were finally safe. But to make matters worse, the world outside of them was also dying. As fell energy poisoned the planet and the Horde's dark magic began to wither the landscape, the vibrant Zangar Sea was slowly transforming into a swollen the place we recognize.
The shirt is, the tank top is almost completely wet, so it's up to my timing. Like 2 minutes later it will be, I guess. Or I will hope it.
Whether it was fell energy corrupting the land or the draining of the sea during the destruction of Draenor. After a few more years, the state of Draenor was gotten even worse. As we already know, the surviving Draenei were hiding in the temple that was once on an island, but was now surrounded by a fungal and swampy marshland. Of course, that island is then revealed to be a big mushroom. The planet of Draenor would be torn apart and replaced.
You know, these vibrations of the body actually help to loosen my lower back, which is just awesome. Nice. No need to go to massage, no need to do any other exercise. Just that is enough, and that's it. That is nice.
But the Legion's reign of terror over Outland wasn't going to go unchallenged for long. Back on
25,
just
well.
after the Third War, the Demon Lord Kil'jaeden
I will take a break. Like I did what I wanted. Set some time and reach it. I can do my 5 minutes more. But I want to have a food, so I guess that's it. Like 25 minutes, 25 seconds, and I will press the button. And the shirt is finally completely wet. Mission accomplished.